Hello boys and girls, welcome to Nagilog, my occasional video log. Today I've got some bad news for you, then some good news and another bad news. The bad news is that I can't play games like Skyrim or Oblivion anymore. The good news is that Morrowind is going to happen. I am going to play Morrowind. I think it's a good game that should be glorified in one of my LPs. And the other bad news is that I'm not likely to play Morrowind this year. I've planned it somewhere around next year, maybe late this year, not yet sure. But it's coming. What are the reasons for this, you may ask? Well, the reasons for this are stated very clearly in a video by samyoulonline, where he says that, or he shows how the Elder Scrolls series is being dumbed down, considering Morrowind, Oblivion and Skyrim, comparing them and showing the tendency. And in Skyrim it has gone so bad that he lists here a couple of points that you can't fail. This involves that important people can't die, that NPCs can't be offended, that you can't fail quests. Another point is that faction memberships have no consequences, or that your choices have little impact on the world, or basically no impact at all. It's just the one or the other line from this or that NPC. Quest and journal systems have been degraded to uselessness. They don't give you really any hint or record what you have to do. They rely on that you are looking at the arrow on the compass pointing you to the right location, where you just have to push the button for action or something. So quest and journal systems. Next is reduced NPC conversations. Yes, it is true. In Skyrim there is little topics you can talk about with NPCs, and it's getting worse and worse when you remember Morrowind and see the long lists of topics you can talk about. Skyrim is nothing compared to that. Oversimplified puzzles is not another point. He calls them, samyoulonline calls these oversimplified puzzles speed bumps in your rush for the quest's end. And his last point is reduced item values, meaning that artifact grade items are affordable for everyone. That's not like things should be. Artifact grade items should be treasure for the richest in the land, the richest and mightiest persons in the land, like kings. Yet every merchant having 3,000 septims can afford a legendary artifact. So that's just ridiculous. So I won't talk about these points any longer. Just if you want some detailed explanation, go and watch samyoulonline video. The link is in the description. I say a big yes and nod to every word samyoulonline says there about this Elder Scrolls dumbing down. And it made me really realize that Skyrim and Oblivion-like games, let's call them quest arrow games, or follow the quest arrow games, are not really worth my time anymore. Yes, I admit I've had my fun with these games, but I've also had a hard time overlooking these flaws, how stupid or primitive these games are actually. And I think I can't really overlook that now. That has been made so clear, and it really sticks out. With this, the most important part of this Nagilog is over. What follows are just now my personal ramblings and kind of a monologue on this, but it's nothing really important. I want to tell you how this all began. It had a small evolution of this. In a couple of days ago, Exo Solaris, an good old subscriber of my channel, has offered me a gift of Dishonored on Steam. I have mentioned a couple of times that Dishonored looks interesting. It reminded me of Thief, the Dark Project. I think, well, stealthy game, you play a thief, could be fun. I'd like to try it. And then he offered me this game, and I say, well, wait a moment, I just watched an LP of this, and I said, well, no, I'm sorry, but I can't play this game. It's just nothing. It's again a quest arrow. You follow it, push the button, the game tells you. And quests are linear. You can't do anything the game doesn't want you to do. It's boring for me. I'm sorry. I said I couldn't accept this gift. And people were asking me in the comments, Nagidal, where is your Skyrim Mage Let's Play coming out? And I said, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not yet ready for this. I'm still disgusted about these kind of average games mechanics, how these quest-based games work today. And Damal SC, another long and old subscriber, commented, this reminds me of a video by samyoulonline, and posted a link there, and I watched this video. I said, yes, samyoulonline, I totally agree with you. Elder Scrolls are dumbing down, and I really realized I cannot no longer enjoy them. At least the newer titles like Oblivion and Skyrim, not. So what? And this, when I realized this, it completely crashed my schedule for the next, 12 hours. I was so angry and excited and annoyed by the fact what today's games look like. That I couldn't do Boat Murdered, I couldn't Let's Play Legend of Grimrock, I couldn't even do the Nagilog. I was so hot-headed yesterday. I said, no, this is no good. Sleep over it, summarize your points you want to tell them, and do it the other way. That's why I'm doing it today rather than yesterday. But really, I wasn't able to do anything I planned for yesterday's evening or afternoon. I was so, angry or excited or sad. It's a mixture of feelings. So what I'm going to do is to boycott these games. I just won't buy them. I won't play them. I will frown upon them or look over them with disdain. But I also realize the irony of this, that boycotting these games is just as silly as I think is all this activism around organic food. Like, you probably know these people who say, well, this junk food or mass-produced food, how can you buy it? How can you eat it? Don't you know how these animals are treated, how they suffer when they are bred for this food production industry? And I say, yes, I know them. I know that they suffer. I know that's not right, and it's bad. And probably this sausage I bought doesn't contain meat at all. It contains some junk from the remains of the butcher shop or whatever, food additives and stuff which taste and have the texture of meat, but are actually no meat. Actually, they don't even have the taste of meat anymore. But I still buy that. I want something like that. I want it cheap. I want it, and I don't care really. I know it's bad things happen to these animals, but so what? My money is my money, and I don't want to spend it on expensive food. And so these people buying organic food think, well, if everybody buys only organic food, the food industry will change and nobody will torture these animals, and they will be bred like they should be, and they will have lives which are enjoyable for them. Maybe yes, but I don't think there will ever be the majority of people will buy organic food. So I just give up and not even try. So it's like I say, if we all abandon these average games and buy only games which have depth, which force you to think, which I don't know, have many dialogue lines, which have realism and are not dumbed down, then the game industry will change. Well, no, of course not, because there will always be people just liking and loving these casual games where they don't have to think and just go where the arrow points and push a button and just enjoy the show and don't think about the game, just play and feel like a hero. You have achieved something, while you achieved actually nothing. The world didn't change. Yes, so it's just as silly. Or you could compare it to fair trade. Not exactly these games, but there is something like fair trade going on in the game industry as well. If you know fair trade, it means that the money from the consumer gets on a much more direct way to the producer of the good. Like coffee in Ethiopia, it's produced by very poor harvesters, and coffee on coffee plantations, and these people are poor, and they sell it for cheap. And there is a chain of buyers and resellers of the coffee until it gets to your supermarket where you buy it. And everyone in the chain wants to earn money, and the people who actually make the coffee and harvest it don't get almost anything from your money. And there is fair trade, which says almost all of the money you pay for the coffee gets directly to the people in Ethiopia who produce this coffee. But here again, it's your decision. Will you pay €5 for the usual coffee, or will you pay $15 for fair trade coffee? Well, you can. And again, people say, if everybody does that, and if everybody buys fair trade, then fair trade will be the normal case. This long buyers and resellers chains will suffer, and they will go bankrupt, and it will be more just for the people and for the trade. Again, here everybody looks at its own money and say, well, it's not worth to me. I as well, also including me. But I see something like fair trade. I'm totally for this case in the game industry, because an analogy for fair trade is crowdfunding the games, where the money the gamer pays for the game doesn't go to the producer, and only a fraction of what the producer gets goes further to the game developers. Crowdfunding is that the gamers pay and the money goes more or less directly to the game developers, and only a small fraction goes actually to the crowdfunding platform or donation where the game is offered for free, and what the gamers want, they pay directly to the game developer. So I'm totally enthusiastic about such projects, and I support them fully, and with good money as well. So while I'm not doing this in the food industry or in the fair trade, I'm doing similar things now in the game industry by saying, well, let's don't play these bad games where an arrow shows you what to do, and let's don't buy games from big publishers. Let's buy games produced independently and support the developer directly. Yeah, but what profit and what's the profit of all this? I don't think it will really change the game industry, but it makes me feel better. The same way people feel better when they buy organic food, or if they buy fair trade goods, if they like these things, it makes them feel better. And so this makes me feel better if I do similar things in the game industry. Yeah, so, but again, I think nothing will really change. If there will be 100,000 of people say, well, samyoulonline and Nagidal, you're right, I'm with you on this, I won't buy these games. The game developer loses, I don't know, 100,000 of game buyers, but millions of others will buy the games, so he still gets his money and won't care. So nothing will change. I think it's the zeitgeist of the game industry, the spirit of the time. And it will change with time. It needs years and years to change and evolve into something different. I've been lucky to follow the evolution of PC games from the very beginning. And I mean PC games, like also including the very first personal computers, like ZX Spectrum or Atari or Sharp or Commodore. So I've seen all these games there. First, they were very much arcade-like. You know, these arcade machines where you had 3 lives, you had a high score, and the game was over after 5 or 10 minutes, and there was no save game possible. And every average game was like that. It is unbelievable from today's point of view, but it is true. That was almost a law. There had to be a high score, 3 lives, and game over after a short time, unless you were extremely, extremely skilled at that game. But this evolved later into, well, save games. These games offered to save and load the game. They were easy to fail still, and hard to beat, but you could save the game and load it again and again. Examples of these games would be Arena, or Wolfenstein 3D, or Doom. Hard to beat games, but you've got a save position. And gradually, step by step, games became easier and easier. And that's where we are today, at these, let's call them quest arrow games. They are hard to fail, actually harder to fail than to beat. They're hard to fail, easy to beat. They have, of course, save games, because the gameplay spans over multiple sessions. But you don't really need the save games, because only for saving the session. For everything else, you've got autosaves. And these games, yes, these are Skyrim, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and so on. And maybe there is another point which I could add to samyoulonline's points about the today's games, and that is that they are heavily based on scripted events. I know that scripted events have been a central part of the games ever since, but I think never before were they so obvious and so annoying like in today's RPG games. It's these situations where everything, every event, every quest is presented to you on a silver plate during your very first visit of a location. These were the situations where I complained about in my Skyrim Let's Play. Yeah, why does he bother me here with and think? It's like if these game designers were anxious that you might never again visit this location, and you would then not do some of the quests which we've prepared for you there. Oh, would that be bad? So better present you everything the place has to offer right at the beginning and overwhelm you with possibilities. I don't feel this is realistic for an RPG game. I would like to see a game where, well, I admit there are quests which might be offered to you the very first time. People might be so desperate they think, oh, only an able hero or an adventurer looking like he could do it could help me. If I see such one coming around, I will go to him and ask him to help me. Yes, let's accept these situations. But what we are seeing in the RPG games are also quests where you think these quests are really intimate and personal matter, or they are faction related, and people just offer you these, and it's not even realistic that they would trust you enough to talk about these with you. I would expect that there should be, or I want that there are quests where you have to hang around for a while in the village and show the locals whether you're a bad guy or a good guy. And if you prove to be a good guy, eventually the good guys in the village will come to you and will approach you and say, hey, there is something you could do for us. We know, we've seen you around and we trust you enough to tell you this. And only then they offer you a quest. Or the same would apply for the bad guys, of course. Or so it would require you to hang around and to go away and to come back to the village, so people, you know, you're a returning visitor of this, and you're becoming part of the village until they can trust you. So why isn't there anything like that? I miss that. All these scripted events where you ignore them for the first time and you return after weeks into the same location, and the same people are still standing there, and then they're standing there day and night just waiting for you to talk to them about this. Why don't they ever go to sleep? Why aren't they just one-time opportunities? I'm missing them, or opportunities which recur every week or every 14 days or only on a full moon or something like that. I remember games that had quests where you had to carefully figure out how, when to do what, and where to do it to achieve the quest. And they were so secret quests that it was hard. They were hard to access, and they were hard to start and work on them. I'm missing these from today's games. Well, yes, so what games do I want to play if I say I don't like the average games of today, or the average RPGs? I want to play some of the exceptional and noteworthy games. And I know these exceptional games have been around ever since computer games. While there were average games, there have always been also exceptional games like The Hobbit on the ZX Spectrum. It was a text-based game, but the amazing thing about it was that you could talk to the game in proper English. The input for the game were commands written in proper English grammar. The game would parse it, understand it, and perform what you told it. And that was unheard of at the time. It was like it felt like an artificial intelligence. You talk to the computer in English and he understands you. Wow, so exciting. And also, this game was where time mattered a lot. This is also completely missing from today's RPGs. Like, if you know the story of Hobbit, there is a danger in the land and you have to act somehow. And if in the text games, if in the game you just lurk around and do nothing for days, bad thing will happen and you will miss opportunities to progress in the game. You will fail the game if you just are lazy and don't do anything. So time mattered a lot, and it was not written explicitly. You just failed the game and you didn't know why. And next time you played it, oh, this time I visited the location, other event happened. Of course, because you visited it 2 days earlier in game time. So this was a hidden feature. The players realized that by playing the game that time really matters in the game. This was revolutionary. Or another such game was Elite on the BBC Micro. This had jaw-dropping graphics. It had a huge open world, actually an open universe, unbelievable size for the small piece of memory the computer had. It was a game where you could live your own adventures, flying a spaceship. You want to be a trader? Be a trader. You want to be a pirate? Be a pirate. You want to be a bounty hunter? Be a bounty hunter. Do what you like in the open space. And it had a long gameplay. You could really play it for days, weeks, even months. Fantastic game. Revolutionary at its time. Another such milestone in game industry was Monkey Island, at least from my point of view. A classic adventure game, lots of humor, insane puzzles, and lots of it. Lots of both, lots of humor, lots of incredible puzzles. Some puzzles, admittedly, were very hard and very unfair, but the more fun you had, and that's why they became unforgettable. Even after years, you still remember those unfair puzzles, how hard it was to beat them. Or another such game, Warlords 2, turn-based strategy, very simple and very best around, I think. Or Zork Nemesis, a puzzle adventure with a thrilling story. I loved that. And I think now Morrowind. With retrospect, I think Morrowind could be just one of these games, these exceptional games. It was exceptional in the vast world you had there to explore, but it was around in Oblivion, not in Daggerfall. It was around in Arena, so it wasn't that exceptional anymore. But it was exceptional in that it introduced these Bethesda skill-based things that characters become best in or best at what they do most. Yeah, you sneak a lot, you are good at sneaking. You slash the sword a lot, you're good at swords. You, I don't know, you do magic a lot, you become good at magic. And this was, as simple as this idea is, as realistic as it was never there before. The classic RPGs based on Dungeons and Dragons, where everything was based around experience. And if you wanted to become better at lockpicking, you had to kill 100 more goblins, and then you've become better at lockpicking. So this Morrowind, I think this was the best contribution which has happened to RPGs, was what came with Morrowind, and what was developed further almost into perfection in Skyrim, where they abolished all these classes and said, hey guy, play however you like, you'll become good at what you do, whatever it is. We don't care whether it's acrobat or assassin or fighter or thief, mage. If you do a mixture, you'll become a mixture type of guy. Just you're nothing but a bunch of skills. And that's an ingenious idea. And Skyrim got that very right there. Another exceptional game, of course, was Minecraft, or Dwarf Fortress. I think Dwarf Fortress is the best thing which has ever happened to a game industry. And I hope Star Citizen in the future might, or I think it might become an exceptional game. More of a political act, just showing the game industry that there is still good money to be made in computer games, rather than just concentrating on console games. So these are just a number of games which came to my mind while I was preparing this Nagilog. It's also similar to the movies, you know. Every year a dozen of movies is produced which are made for big money to earn even more money, and which are supposed to attract broad audience, as much people as possible into the cinemas, and they should spend money watching these movies. These movies usually involve crime, guns, and a love story. Yet a connoisseur of films also likes maybe art films, or films which weren't made to make money. There are extremely good films made for cheap budget, and there are even films which were made for good amount of money but who were a total disaster at the box office. Just didn't make the money they were expected to make. But such films often convey a message. They force the viewer to think about them, and viewers like them, and they often remember these films after years and years, and these films are becoming unforgettable. Films which are made, classic films, milestones in film industry, which convey a message and force you to think about it. To give you some examples of these movies, at least from the English-speaking world, or English movies, I'm thinking of 12 Angry Men, thinking of Midnight Cowboy, oh yes, and if you want something weird, Pink Flamingos. It's an unforgettable film, whether you like it or not. So these films are exceptional. We're lucky that they were made. They were not the blockbusters, but they've gained popularity not because of the effects of the fire explosions or gun shootings or gunfights, but because they deal with some things which concern people, and then people remember these films, just stick in your head. Well, I think I've spoken for long enough. Thank you for your audience. See you next time.